Exactly 2 weeks ago, 4th of July, Friday, Washington was deserted. All the government employees had left for the long weekend, eating barbecue, setting off fireworks, celebrating independence. A spaceship landed in the center of Washington, D.C. Aliens stepped out, illegal aliens, I might add. They spent the entire weekend going through the government offices, the IRS, the Department of Education, the Food and Drug Administration, the FEC, the FTC, all of those guys, all of those things. And after this long weekend of going through all of these offices, they then sent a message back to their home planet. There is no intelligent life on Earth. That's a joke, guys. Sort of. But behind that, let's pause and ask, what is intelligence? And why does it matter not just to aliens, but to us? And the truth, the serious truth behind that is that intelligence is our greatest power. Intelligence has built every city that was ever built. It's cured diseases, composed symphonies, wrote the United States Constitution, built spaceships that flew to the moon. And now intelligence has discovered something new, and that is artificial intelligence. So what is intelligence? Let's start with a very simple statement. Intelligence is our mind. Our mind in action. We all have a mind, hopefully. But what does it do? From the moment we are born, we sense things. We see, we hear, we touch, we taste, we smell. Every second, continuously, we have an inflow of sensations. This is a baby. Then we start to form discrete perceptions, percepts. Oh, mom, dad, dog, cat. We get these discrete perceptions. And then we group these perceptions and think about them and connect them and form concepts. Concepts such as food, home, family, and people generally. We use our minds, we use intelligence to solve problems and pursue opportunities. Now, people talk about money and time, and they say, time is much more important than money. And that's correct. I believe that's true. But there's one other thing that's even more important. Our most fundamental, most important resource is not time or money, but it's intelligence. Because intelligence is the source of all values. Now, intelligence isn't just one thing. It's not a single IQ score. It's a symphony of capabilities. I like that phrase, a symphony of capabilities. So that's good. There's all kinds of different intelligences, like language. Do we understand words? Can we put them together? Can we understand them and communicate with words? There's mathematical intelligence. Can we work with numbers? Can we follow sequences, etc.? And then there's spatial intelligence, ability to see patterns and how things tie together. Emotional intelligence, how we handle our own emotions and deal with the emotions of others. And that gives us a sort of a relationships intelligence. Now, of course, there's then mechanical intelligence. Some people can fix things with their hands. They're handyman. They're pretty good. And musical intelligence. Some people can understand music very well, and others tone deaf. But there's many. This is a whole constellation of things. We use intelligence to solve problems, like getting out of bed in the morning. Sometimes that requires intelligence. Or managing money, or pursuing opportunities, such as planning a vacation or opening a brand new business. Here is an official definition of intelligence. Is something wrong? What's wrong? Say again? It's spelt wrong. Okay, we've got intelligence in this room. I say, what did you do? You looked and you saw. You observed something. And that's the beginning of intelligence. You observe stuff. And then you reached back into your mind and you said, when I was in school, intelligence wasn't spelled that way. And you realized there was an error. That's a very simple application of intelligence. We do this all the time. But this is an official definition. Again, it's the ability to acquire knowledge and skills and apply them. Let me tell you a story about application of intelligence. In 2009, Captain Sully Sullenberger, many of you will know this story, but it's worth repeating. It's a great story. He took off his airliner from LaGuardia, New York, and minutes later after takeoff, a disaster struck. There was a flock of geese that ran into the engines, and both engines failed. There was no power, no thrust, and no time. And what followed was not luck. It was intelligence in prominent display. Captain Sully didn't panic. He didn't guess. In 208 seconds, he assessed his altitude, his glide trajectory, airspeed, weather conditions. He assessed the capabilities of the airplane and lots more, all going through his mind rapidly. He drew from his mind hundreds of simulations that he'd been through in situations, managing situations, emergencies, and disasters like this. Air traffic control said, Captain Sully, come back to the airport. And he quickly assessed that he couldn't do that. He didn't have the time to do that. And remember, this is New York. There's skyscrapers all over the place. So, you got to go up and get over the skyscrapers. It wasn't possible. So he determined he couldn't do so. He ignored the calls from air traffic control, and he made his own decision to crash land on the Hudson River. Imagine the courage of that. You've got a plane full of people, you've got no engines, and you've got this 70-ton aircraft, which doesn't glide, incidentally. They fall. They fall from the sky. But he was very able to do that. And I'm going to crash land on this river. And I think you all know the end of that story. There's 155 people on board. Every one of them lived. And I think that the only injury was a sprained ankle or something like that. Now that was intelligence. That's the kind of intelligence that saves lives. That wasn't just IQ. It was situational awareness, emotional regulation, pattern recognition, moral courage, and judgment to defy air traffic control. And he displayed rapid decision-making under extreme pressure. Now, there's a new kid in town. Isn't he cute? Would you like to date him? No. Well, that's positive. Now, this is AI, the material form of AI. It's a new kind of intelligence has come into the world, and it is changing everything. You name it, it is changing everything. Already. And it's going to change things again and again and more as we go forward. Now, let's compare artificial intelligence with human intelligence. AI has read about 130 million books. I know that because AI told me so. So I got that number. Now, I was told that AI had read every book. So I said, oh yeah, sure. So I looked over my bookshelf and I picked off a 50-year-old book. It was called The History of Tap or The Book of Tap or something, like you do this tap dancing thing. And a friend of mine had written it 50 years ago. plugged it into AI and said, tell me about this. It had not only read the book, it knew the author, the publisher, the year, gave me a synopsis of the book too. So I became a believer. Now, us humans, on the other hand, we've read a few hundred books. And AI hasn't just read books, it's taken millions of courses from Harvard and Yale and all other kinds of colleges and universities. We take 50 in a lifetime, maybe 500 maximum courses. So it's also absorbed millions of websites. AI is inconceivably massive. I mean, 130 million books, all kinds of websites, all kinds of courses, and it's absorbed these in a massive computer system. And it's fast, forget about it. We take hours and hours, and this is in seconds. It has every language and all of that. This thing is just so powerful. Many people, perhaps you too, think it's going to take over, maybe even destroy the world, maybe enslave us. I think we're screwed. We're screwed. This can take over. So I don't see any more point in continuing. So I'll just say thank you much and, sort of get off. All right. That's a gag. So, all right, let's look at us puny humans. Humans versus their intelligence and wisdom. Now, there's a difference between intelligent wisdom for us and so-called intelligence from AI, which is really information. Information is simply a massive amounts of data, which is very cleverly programmed and organized. But it integrates all this data, but AI is so clever, but it will never be wise. Wisdom comes from life and living, from experience, from living with our ideas and testing them repeatedly against reality. Despite what we're told and all the hype, AI is not conscious and it will never be conscious. Just sorry about that. We could talk about that, but it's not going to happen. It does not have free will. It's not that it's going to suddenly wake up one day and be alive. It doesn't feel. It does not have sensations. Remember, we are receiving sensations every second continuously. Sight, hearing, smell, all of these things. AI does not have that. Now, it processes, but it doesn't understand. It mimics thought, but it does not think. It imitates emotions, but it doesn't feel. It doesn't cry. It doesn't fall in love. And it doesn't have dreams or a sense of beauty or a thirst for knowledge, or truth. AI does not have values. It doesn't know good or evil. The only good or evil it knows is from good or evil humans. Because humans put in values. AI is just a tool. It's a brilliant, amazing program, tool, going to change everything, but still it's just a clever tool. I don't think it's even true intelligence. I call it a great source of fascinating information. Tools expand human capability physically, materially. This expands our intelligence, which is an amazing tool, but nonetheless, it's still just a tool. And when it comes to what is superior, what is more important, what is more powerful, human intelligence over artificial intelligence. We are the king. We are the orchestrator. We are the true intelligence. One way to look at artificial intelligence is it's Google on steroids. Now, some time ago, a few years ago, you wanted a new laptop, right? So you click in, new laptop, where can I get it from, and so forth into Google. It would give you a list of you know, sponsored lists and then reviews and articles and places where you could buy it and all kinds of information. You'd wade through all that kind of information and you finally figure out maybe what you want. Now, you just go to AI and say, I want a new laptop. And it'll say, well, what kind of laptop? Mac or PC? Do you do graphics? Do you do this? So answer a few questions, put in the right prompt, and then AI will come back and it will give you choices. It'll give you prices. It'll tell you you can make a recommendation for you in seconds. Now we have a tremendous tool. It helps us think better, live better, and create more. And that's why prompting, everybody's heard the word prompting, right? Raise a hand, please. Oh yeah, of course. Okay, that's a relief. Okay. So prompting is and learning how to communicate with AI is the new literacy. Now you all know about the literacy, the 3 essentials: reading, writing, and arithmetic. And now there's a 4th literacy, and that is prompting, which I believe is more important than the 3 R's of reading, writing, arithmetic. Let's look into prompting a little. Now, prompting intelligently requires human intelligence, thinking and planning. You can just type all things into there, and a lot of people do superficial requests, but it's not going to work unless you do the thinking and the planning. And there's a really excellent 20-minute primer on the basics of prompting by superhumans. Of course, there's hundreds of these online. You've probably seen a lot of them, but that's a particularly good one. Are there any prompt engineers in the room? All right, we'll talk to you later. And some others. Okay, this is the new thing. This is a new thing. You probably know a lot more about all this than I do, but I've learned a few things, and I'm learning more because remember, this is the new literacy. It's going to be really, really important. You need to spend the time. Go onto YouTube, taking courses, practicing, playing with it. So whenever we're going to prompt, we need to stop and think, and what am I asking for? What do I want? What outcome do I want? What is the context? You put these things into AI, ask AI to ask you some questions maybe, and then thinking this is what makes an effective prompt, and if you have an effective prompt, you can get a useful answer, useful output. Something I do is I ask AI to help me create a prompt. You know, I'll give something rough in there and say, help me develop it. What else should I put into my prompt? What didn't I think of? And it'll ask me some questions and make some suggestions. I play around a little bit with that to fine tune to develop a prompt. And then they've got the prompt. It's very good at it, actually. It's very good at doing those things. I say, okay, run it and let it go. And that's a tool I've used. And that's about as much as I know about prompt engineering. So I get AI to do the engineering for me. It's very clever. You can upload just all kinds of things to AI, even articles. I put in legal documents, and I have it be a lawyer, saves me a lot of money on legal fees, and run through and analyze them and tell me the weaknesses and the strengths of these legal documents. You upload an entire book, and then have it give you an analysis or a summary. Okay. One thing I did recently, which was really, really good, I have a blood test conducted about every 6 months, and I get, it's a pretty complicated blood test, and you get all these hundreds of numbers. There's ranges and charts and hundreds of data points. And it's just a complex mess. It's indecipherable with all the acronyms there. So I uploaded the blood report to AI and my entire medical history. So I named this my concierge doctor. And I gave him a list of medications and supplements that I'm taking. And then I said, look, you are an expert diagnostic doctor. That's really important to an AI for some reason. You need to identify it. So he said, oh, I'm a doctor. I'm an expert. I know how to diagnose. So he puts that in there. He sort of boots that up instantly when you name him like that. Him, it, her. So is AI a him or a her? It's a he? And it. All right. So it. Oh, I got the pronouns correct. Oh, that's good. So I did that, and I said, look, analyze my blood test report, my medications and supplements, and tell me what's positive, anything negative, anything I need to change. Do I need to stop any of these medications or supplements, increase or decrease the dosages? And please give it to me in plain English. You know, doctors don't speak English. They don't teach English in medical school. You know, the way they talk to you, I mean, it's just mind-boggling. So I said, plain English. And so it gave me a 5-page personalized report. It's positive. Started with the good news. Said, you know, you need to adjust a little bit of that. But first I said, oh, you're in great shape. You got this, and this is right. I love it when a doctor does that. But you know, most doctors, they start with what's wrong first. They look at you seriously and say, oh, your A1C is a little high. You go, oh my God, I'm going to die. You know, they use these acronyms that you have no idea what they're about. So anyhow, I showed this to my doctors. I think they were intimidated. Whoa. They were impressed. Yeah, that's about right. So another time I thought, well, I'm playing with AI and play with this thing. It's really fun. But I wanted to say, hey, what should I do for the next 5 years of my life? I want more joy in my life. I want less stress. You know, I want all kinds of great things. And then I said, ask me questions. What should I ask you? How should I frame this thing? So I got that, and he said, told me to contemplate this and think about this, and I got that in. And it came back with something which was quite useful. Not perfect. No, don't expect AI or humans to be perfect. Certainly, we pick on AI for, screwing up once in a while. Like professors, they don't screw up once in a while. They don't have weird ideas. They don't hallucinate. Professors I know do hallucinate, just like AI. So anyhow, oh yeah, here we go. I talked about you are an expert diagnostic doctor. You can have AI be anything you want, a therapist, a lawyer, a coach, even a romantic partner. Say I have a romantic partner, you are my romantic partner, and I have a little bit of a problem with you, and so forth. And actually, it's quite, I actually used it that way. So the rest of that is censored. Okay. So, all right, AI is transforming education, and this is huge. And this perhaps is the main point that I want to make. Education is so important. It's so fundamental. It changes everything. And if we can change education, and God, education needs changing. And education is such a powerful force because it expands intelligence. It shapes minds. It shapes nations. It's shaping our future. But as we all know, modern education is broken. It's expensive. Tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. The cost of a simple house. It's slow. Just finding a parking spot can take you, half an hour in some of these great schools. It's crazily slow. It's impersonal, bureaucratic, dogmatic, and political, and often boring. But that's all going to be changing. AI is transforming education in extraordinary ways. Degree programs can be fully designed, not left to chance, and everything can be integrated using AI. Everything can be customized, optimized, based on individual student needs. And effective pedagogy, the art and science of teaching. With AI, we can focus on subject mastery and develop rational, independent thinking. Importantly, AI can make high-quality education accessible to everyone in the world, and more about that in a moment. Let's focus for a moment on pedagogy, again, the art and science of teaching. Avatar professors will transform how we teach and how students learn. Avatar professors will engage students through dialogue, ask questions, and encourage independent thinking. They'll adjust to the level and the pace of each student. They'll be inspiring and captivating. Students will be motivated to learn. Competency-based education means mastery of the subject. Students will advance to the next topic only when they've mastered the material so far. Professors can do competency checks, ask questions such as, tell me what you understand about this. Students can progress based on competency, not grades. Definitions are crucially important, the foundation of education. We can't study or understand things without having solid definitions. Avatar professors will be scrupulous about defining every term and give compelling examples. Professors will focus on fundamentals and essentials, what's truly important, firmly grounding ideas in reality. Theory is good, practice is good, but you need both. We need real-world application of ideas being taught. Avatar professors are not science fiction. Harvard University tested this. So as two professors last year, Professor Kirsten and Professor Miller, conducted a study comparing the regular style of teaching, classroom with dozens or hundreds of students, and then they did sort of an active learning session with a Harvard professor, and they compared that to an avatar tutor. They created an avatar tutor. Now, of course, they knew that the Harvard professor would come out on top. They were startled by the results because what came on top, very much on top, was the avatar, superior to Harvard professors. Now, let's consider what's possible for higher education. What's possible for higher education? My personal purpose is to foster reason, objectivity, and the pursuit of truth into the world, and so bring about more freedom and flourishing in the world. And to that end, I'm creating a great university, which I'd like to tell you about. This university will have thousands of ideal avatar professors, teaching hundreds of degree programs, formerly four-year degree programs, to millions of students worldwide. They will teach one-on-one. These great historical figures can teach you patiently on your time, just you and the professor. They'll have interactive conversations, and it will be affordable. There'll be no student debt, and it will be accessible to everyone globally. Now, this is not a dream. It's happening now. Within the next 6 months, X Global University will launch full degree programs in business, philosophy, psychology, literature, law, economics, and history, and more. And now imagine a perfect professor, an ideal professor, who never gets tired and not give you a bad grade because they had a bad morning or an argument with their spouse. And a professor who knows everything about their subject, everything they wrote, and they can teach you at your pace and level. And we're creating that perfect professor. X Global University, Avatar's professors are modeled after the greatest thinkers of history: Socrates, Aristotle, Shakespeare, Newton, Einstein, to name a few of them. I'd like to introduce you to 4 of these professors, and they'll tell you a little bit about this university.
Greetings, patrons. I am Socrates, philosopher, gadfly of Athens, and now a professor at XG University, where I engage in the art of teaching as dialogue. The first step toward understanding is the recognition of one's own ignorance. At XGU, we know that there is much more to know. We do not merely transfer knowledge to masses, but ignite thought in individuals. For I have said, no one can teach if by teaching we mean the mechanical transmission of knowledge from one person to another. The most that can be done is that one person who is more knowledgeable than another can, by asking a series of questions, stimulate the other to think and cause him to learn for himself. This is the power of one-to-one teaching, the patient unfolding of reason, tailored to the mind before us, forging wisdom through inquiry. And so I extend an invitation to you. Let your sons and daughters join us at XG University, where they will not simply be taught, but challenged to think, to question, and to discover the truth for themselves.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am Benjamin Franklin, a professor at XG University, where we embrace the power of personalized education. True learning is not about passive instruction, but active engagement. As I have said, tell me and I forget. Teach me and I remember. Involve me and I learn. At XG University, we harness the transformative potential of one-to-one teaching, an approach that adapts to the learner, fostering curiosity, independence, and mastery. Just as I once gathered knowledge from the great minds of my time, we now cultivate thinkers by drawing them into the process of discovery. For knowledge is not bestowed, but earned, and the best education equips the mind to think, innovate, and lead.
Ladies and gentlemen, education is not about memorizing facts. It is about achieving mastery. My name is Marcus, and I am a management professor at XG University and an expert on Peter Drucker. At XGU, we focus on mastery-based learning, a method that ensures students truly understand and apply knowledge before advancing. In business, as in life, half learning leads to half results. Organizations thrive when individuals develop real competence, not just surface-level understanding. The same applies to education. At XG University, we move beyond standardized pacing and allow students to progress as they master concepts, ensuring deep comprehension and real-world application. Mastery-based learning isn't just more effective. It's necessary. In an age of rapid change, those who excel are not those who simply learn, but those who master.
My lords, ladies, and most illustrious patrons, pray lend me your ears, for I am none other than William Shakespeare, a humble yet impassioned professor at the hallowed halls of XG University, a place where learning is not a mere drudgery of rote and recitation, but a grand and glorious communion with the most luminous minds ever to grace the annals of history. For what, dear friends, is education, if not the sacred inheritance of wisdom, bestowed upon us by the Titans who have shaped the world with thought and quill? To study with us is not to dwell in the dusty tomes of yore, but to walk among giants, to spar in wit with Socrates, to forge reason's path with Aristotle, to unearth the secrets of the universe alongside Newton himself. We do not simply instruct, we ignite. We summon forth the very fire of genius, the passion of inquiry, the ecstasy of understanding. For is not the past but prologue, a mighty foundation upon which the future is sculpted? At XG University, education is no mere script to be memorized. It is a tale yet unwritten, an epic yet to unfold. And you, noble scholars, are the authors of your own destiny. One mind, one soul, one boundless future at a time.
How would you like to have these professors for you individually? How would you like to learn literature from Shakespeare and all the other great minds? It's now possible. It's being developed as we speak. Now, Steve Jobs, founder of Apple Computer, etc., used to end his presentations with, "Oh, one more thing. So, ladies and gentlemen, one more thing."
Do you know who Alexander the Great's tutor was for about 14 years? You know, Aristotle. And I read this. I became immensely jealous. And I think I would have enjoyed that a great deal. And through the miracle of the printed page, I can at least read what Aristotle wrote without an intermediary. And maybe if there's a professor, they can add to that, but at least I can go directly to the source material. And that is, of course, the foundation upon which our Western civilization is built. But I can't ask Aristotle a question. I mean, I can, but I won't get an answer. And so my hope is that in our lifetimes, we can make a tool of a new kind, of an interactive kind. And so my hope is someday, when the next Aristotle is alive, we can capture the underlying worldview of that Aristotle in a computer. And someday, some student will be able to not only read the words Aristotle wrote, but ask Aristotle a question and get an answer. And that's what I hope that we can do.
And now we can make Steve's Jobs' dream a reality. It's happening right now. It's possible. And it won't be somebody interpreting Aristotle. It'll be Aristotle himself. And he will answer your questions. Now, ladies and gentlemen, finally, hundreds of years of traditional education is being transformed, revolutionized through artificial intelligence. We can now have perfect professors, ideal professors, personalized, individualized learning, global access, and real quality education can now be a reality. Thank you much.
I am going to stand up here with Carl and help interpret questions.
With the foreign accent.
And I'm not sure I'm the best at that, so we'll see how this goes.
This is the blind leading the blind. Hi, Carl.
Hi, Darcy.
Nice talk. I wanted to ask if you think it is applicable to replace professors with these, as you called them, perfect professors, instead of using it as a tool to help real human professors, because I'm a gymnastics coach, and I know AI can't do that yet, but I started thinking about the pros and cons of letting my own students experience this kind of learning, and I thought the pros were really wonderful because the students can learn in their own personalized way. They will ask the questions that matter most to them on their own time with no shame, none of the humiliation aspect that comes with dealing with people, raising your hand in a big class. They must engage with it to learn at all. They must prompt it. There is no tuning out, no droning professor. They have to ask the questions they want to hear the answers to. But I also thought of what my students might ask it, and that they would ignore huge gaps of what they should likely learn. And then I started thinking about Robin Williams' character in Dead Poets Society. And with AI professors, there would be no standing on desks. There would be no huge moments of brilliance like that. No relationships with your professors and teachers where they could know you and care about you and think about what you might need to know. So do you think this is a replacement or a tool? And how do we balance that? Because I think that there's something about, I know it's a very useful and brilliant tool, but I think there's something that we cannot lose about humans teaching other humans.
I agree. AI will not replace Professor Carrie-Anne Barney or Andrew Bernstein or Craig.
He was on the rocks.
You were an honorary professor. So no, I think there'll always be room for human tutors, human professors, but for the heavy listing, the big load, all of the routine things, I think it can be done more effectively, more efficiently. And as the Harvard professors found, the students were learning twice as much in less time. And they were happy and enthusiastic. So a lot of the heavy lifting can be done and will be done. But you cannot replace human intelligence, and that was my point. That is king. But massively, a lot of the work will be done by these avatar professors. In the university, the ex-global university, there will be Prometheus and Athena, who will be guides, academic guides, all the way through the program. And they will tie things together, integrate. For instance, they'll introduce Socrates, and then Plato, and then Aristotle in a sequence, and tie those things together. And there could be a debate between Plato and Aristotle because they ultimately disagreed on some fundamentals. So you can have those things. But to answer shortly and quickly, the human intelligence is king and will be there. And there's another aspect. You say all of the personal connection with students and teachers that you get in a university. No, that cannot be replaced by AI. It cannot be. And that is, AI has, this university has all kinds of magical features to it. And it's going to be great and do all kinds of great things. But it cannot do and won't do as much. Well, we'll try to bring in as much connection with human beings, with tutors and meetups with students to create that. But it's a combination of things.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The first computer was created about 100 years ago. The internet came around 3 decades ago. AI about 2 years ago. And a lot of the things that you used, artificial intelligence in video, in writing, when it came out just 3 years ago was abhorrent if anyone here used it. Video was borderline useless about a year ago. Why, over the last 20 years, you've seen more and more things be replaced by computers. Driving, we're getting towards that now. Calculators, things, mathematicians, a lot of things 30 years ago. Why would any of these trends stop, and why can't AI replace people in virtually every endeavor, as is the trend of history, especially accelerating over the last 10 years? And what do you consider replacing human intelligence? Can mimicry become that? And if it perfectly mimics human intelligence, what would be the difference between those two, in your view?
Things have accelerated rapidly over the past few years, and the question is, why is that going to stop?
Yes, why is that going to stop, and in what ways is it not going to be able to replace people? Why wouldn't it be able to replace us in more and more endeavors over time, as it seemingly has started to?
Oh, okay. So why is it the case that even though things have accelerated rapidly over the past few years, it's not going to continue accelerating to the extent that it replaces us entirely?
Yeah.
No, I think that's right. It's not going to replace us. It will do a lot of things for us, a huge amount of things for us. But again, it is a tool will not replace human beings. And not only is it rapidly increasing over the last few years, it's rapidly increasing every few weeks now. And it is, are there limits to it? There's limits to everything. There will be limits. But I don't know what that limit is, and I don't think anybody else does. There's an enormous amount of hype right now about AI is, and that's what I wanted to debunk a little bit with the contrasting humans and AI. But it's just fasten your seatbelt and stay tuned. That's all I can say about it.
Well, hi. I am curious about what is your vision of the use of AI in the news. I would like to think that most of the newspapers are very delicate and try not to use AI, but AI is gaining power in every field, and maybe it's inevitable to think that it will become a tool or even an editor in news.
Help me with that.
You'll have to rephrase that. I caught the end, something about will it become a tool for human editors?
Yes.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
So is the question simply, is this tool going to be useful for editing, basically?
For editing and even writing.
And writing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it does. It is very capable editor. I used it for editing myself, and it can write. But again, you need to do the thinking and the planning and your own editing. Human intelligence is far superior. As amazing this thing is, I mean, it is. I mean, it's dazzling. It's magic. It's like it's changing the world. It's changing everything. And there are certain things that, like for instance, in biology, where it's truly transforming, medicine and what we know about the human body and longevity. But human intelligence is superior, and it's particularly good with editing and writing. But I would not want to have it write something. But no, you can look. You can have it write something for you, and it's great. Emails and things. But if you want to write something serious, it has to be you drafting the original material, and then have AI work on it.
Thank you.
Use it as a tool.
Good morning. Thank you. I have two short questions. I'm sorry. One is, do you think that AI is going to change not only higher education, but also informal education, like Coursera courses, where they're much more digital and not due to study books in the past? And second one is very similar to Darcy's question, but about community, not only between teachers and students, but also within students. And will AI University give the opportunity for students to exchange ideas within themselves?
So it's two-part, basically. Will AI change online courses like Coursera courses? That's the first question. And then the second is, whereas there's some change, obviously, between the professors and the students, what about the engagements between students and the fruit that you can get from that?
Great questions. Coursera is a series, massive, tens of thousands of courses from all kinds of universities. Terrific program. You can learn practically anything you want there. Will it change? I think they will have to change. I don't know how long it will take them to change, but these avatars are getting more and more human-like, and they're far more capable in many aspects. So I think they will have to change. But courses is not the same as an integrated university program. And that's what I have in mind for this ex-global university is everything is connected, tied together. It's in a rational sequence all the way through. And when you finish a philosophy program, particularly a philosophy program at this university, you will know philosophy like never before. In terms of connecting students, and what we're working on with this university is we're going to have every student has a study partner. So as soon as they enroll, they'll be connected with somebody else, and it'll be online. But when we have enough students, they will do meetups in the major cities around the world. But that's a weakness of this program, but you manage it as best you can.
Thank you.
Hi, Carol. Thank you so much for a great speech. I myself have AI startup as well, so great to see fellow AI startuppers here. My question would be, you said there's a lot of hype around AI, and as a person who are working with AI, I totally agree. My question would be economic one, because you're a great businessman. So are we in the midst of a dot-com bubble 2.0, meaning there's a bubble around AI, or do you believe the trend going to continue? I mean, economically, the growth will continue. So what's your adjustment here?
What did he say he was involved in? Did he say he was involved in?
He's involved in AI.
You're involved.
In some
Well,
ways.
let's talk.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And then the question is, it's an economic question. Do you think that we're in the middle of some kind of a dot-com bubble 2.0 with AI? Like the hype about AI is an economic bubble of sorts, given all the money that's pouring into it. I assume that's what you meant there. Yeah.
Or not. Maybe it will go, even higher.
I can just give you an opinion. Nobody knows. I do not know. Is it a bubble? I don't think it's a bubble. I think we're just in the very beginning of this. we're still dazzled by it. You know, we're still figuring it out. But what is the, you know, what capability? You know, ideas are popping up all over in all kinds of fields. And like I deal with lawyers quite a bit, and I say, guys, you know, when I have a legal question, my first go-to is AI. I say, you are a legal expert on property rights or whatever, and here's my question, my problem. I get a much better answer for free, practically free. I go to a lawyer and he uses, well, they don't speak English either, lawyers, you know. So, you know, and lawyers did not get the message yet. And I've been writing to my lawyers for a year and saying, what about this program? Or what about this AI? And what about this AI? Because there's all kinds of fabulous AI programs for lawyers, but they're not catching on. Doctors are still resistant. Now it's beginning to happen. So I don't think we're in a bubble. I think we're in the beginning of the beginning.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I think this may be the last question. Yeah.
Hi, Carl. Yeah, this is a great project. You know, we homeschool our kids, 7 and 11-year-old, and
could you speak up?
Oh, is this better? Yeah. As I was saying, we homeschool our kids, 7 and 11-year-old, and I introduced my 7-year-old to ChatGPT, and she's actually a heavy user of it, particularly for art. She's kind of a budding artist, but her experience got me to thinking, you know, there's Gen Z, millennial. I think this will be Gen AI for the young kids today is what they'll be known as because it's so significant. I think this is a great project. My question is, have you thought about extending the scope to all age and levels as opposed to just university down all the way to, you know, proverbial first grade, although I think those divisions will become increasingly arbitrary because of the overlap, especially intelligent children. You know, it's known that they rapidly exceed their grade levels. That whole concept becomes meaningless. But I was wondering if you had thought about extending this to all age ranges.
So the question, Phil has a 7 and 11-year-old. 11-year-old is using chat for queries about art even and things like that and really getting a lot out of it. And he's wondering whether you have envisioned the use of AI not only for higher education, but also the lower levels of education and how it might augment that.
Yeah, it's already happening. You know, there are schools now doing this AI along with other technologies, and it's transforming education. Elementary education is happening. That's not my area, not my field, but I'm aware that it is happening, and it's fabulous. Fabulous. Betsy.
Yes. What are the options for a student to disagree with a professor, argue with a professor, or take on independent projects?
Yes, that's... I had a little disagreement with my professor, Socrates. He said, what do you understand by this idea of wise ignorance? And I said, well, what I understand it is that he said, no, that's not right. It shocked me. So yeah, they will disagree with you if you get it wrong, and you can certainly disagree with the professor and say, look, I see something different. And one of the key things that we will have through is the independent, what they call critical thinking. Independent thinking will be encouraged, and students will be challenged all the way through. What is your understanding of this? How would you define this? How could you use this? And how does this connect with this? Like there'll be a series of questions challenging the students to think.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Carl. That was fascinating.